Okay, here's the audience.
Single.
Okay, I want you all to think about what comes to your mind when you hear the words animal testing. I'm sure it's a bunch of horrific images of cats and dogs being injected with various chemicals until they die. Now I want you to think about the time that you get sick and you go to the doctor. He tells you that you have a new disease and he prescribes you a new medication. This new medication probably came about through animal testing. Animal testing is a heated topic among consumers and companies over the past few years in America. Some companies vow to have no animal testing, but it is very necessary in the world of medicine. According to understandinganimalresearch.org, animal research has played a vital part in nearly every medical breakthrough over the last decade. We also suffer some of the same diseases as animals. It sounds awful, but it is very necessary in the world of medicine. First, I'm going to give you a little history lesson about something you probably don't know about. Has anyone ever heard of the Tuskegee syphilis study? It occurred between 1932 to 1972 in Macon County, Alabama. And basically what happened was a bunch of poor African American men were given flyers to come to their local doctor's office. They were bribed with free meals, free healthcare, and a free ride to the doctor. They couldn't afford it at the time, so this was very enticing. Doctors ran blood tests on them, and about 300 of them were told that they had bad blood, meaning they had syphilis, but they didn't know that. Doctors gave them a placebo pill just so they could watch the prognosis of the disease. At the beginning of the study, there was no cure for syphilis. However, 8 years in, penicillin was available and was known to cure syphilis. However, doctors still didn't give it. They just let the people die a horrible death so they could learn about the disease. Now I'm going to talk about why animal testing is essential. According to the California Biomedical Research Association, mice are 98% genetically similar to humans. So what if we had used mice instead of those 300 African American men to learn about syphilis? Because they're so similar, it makes them ideal research tools. They follow some of the same diseases like cancer, tuberculosis, the flu, and asthma. The National Academies of Press of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine says these biological similarities make them good models for specific diseases like rabbits with atherosclerosis and monkeys with polio. Cancer is rampant in America and all over the world. And due to mice testing, the survival rates have increased. They have also made great leaps and bounds in the world of breast cancer, brain injuries, child leukemia, cystic fibrosis, and multiple sclerosis. Think of how many lives are saved through treatments and vaccines from animal testing. Chris Abbey, a director at MD Anderson Cancer Center's Animal Research Facility, said that we wouldn't even have a hepatitis B vaccine had it not been for testing on chimpanzees. Now I'm going to talk about why we use them. Mice lifespans are approximately 2 to 4 years. And think of your average human lifespan, which is approximately like 70 to 80 years. If we wanted to only test on humans, it would delay medical advances for several years. Meanwhile, mice, we can test on them and learn about lifespan diseases way more quickly and generational diseases. It's also more moral to test on animals and like mice than it is to test on humans. Animals also benefit from animal testing. Think about taking your dog to the vet and having a rabies vaccine, a distemper vaccine, and a parvo vaccine. None of those would have been available had it not been for animal testing. And lastly, I want you to think about all the possible vaccine breakthroughs. If you're not convinced now, I'm going to talk about some regulatory laws. The Animal Welfare Act was passed in 1966, and it ensures that animals have adequate room and adequate temperature and availability to food and water. So basically, scientists can't pack a bunch of rats in one little cage. They also have to have regulatory vet checkups. regularly. They also must be approved to be used by the Institute of Animal Care and Use Committee. And according to animaltestingprocon.com, 97% of the UK's animal research tools are mice, rats, birds, and fish, not dogs and cats like the media wants to put out there. And also according to animaltestingprocon.org, 9 billion chickens and 150 million cattle, pigs, and sheep are used every year or eaten every year. However, only 26 million are used for research. In conclusion, how many people do you know that have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's? Or think about all the people that diagnosed with HIV, hepatitis C, or ALS. These are all incurable as of right now, but think about all the possibilities for future cures. Something has to be tested on, and using mice, fish, and birds are it's for the greater good. There's also strict guidelines, as I mentioned earlier, passed with the Animal Welfare Act. Animal testing sounds bad, but it is used for major advances and possible future advances.